The number one most common hurdle that 99.9% of people face when flight training is paying for it. You already know that flight training is expensive. In this video, we're going to discuss two aspects of paying for flight training. Tips to make your flight training as affordable as possible, and advice for acquiring funds for flight training. So, let's take a look at some suitable options to pay for flight training. I get a dozen calls a day from people who are passionate about becoming a pilot, but they're not in the right financial position to afford flight training. If dropping $1,000 on bills right now is going to send your whole world spiraling, then you probably shouldn't be considering flight training. Rather, focus on saving up. Open up an account specifically for future flight training expenses. If you are starting from zero, we tell individuals wanting to train with us to set a goal of $13,000. This gives you enough money with some cushion to obtain your private pilot certificate. I know that can be a daunting number, but stick with us until the end of this video where we will reveal some tips on acquiring help for those funds. With that being said, let's begin by discussing some tips to making sure that your flight training is as affordable as possible. Each rating has minimum requirements. To make your training as affordable as possible, your goal is to get as close to these minimums as possible. Most people are well above these minimums. The average number of hours flown before becoming a private pilot is 65, which is 30 hours above the required minimum of paid flights. To complete this minimum, we have a few tips and tricks for you. Number one, fly accelerated. Totally immersing yourself in your training yields fantastic results. We've been specializing in this type of training for years and can say for certain that if you fly multiple times a day, 6 to 7 days a week, you will average less hours than someone flying once a day, 2 to 3 times a week. On average, our accelerated private pilot students require 10 hours less training than our slower paced students. So this factor alone could save you over $2,000. Number two, familiarize yourself with radio chatter. Listen to audio on liveatc.net and get used to the chatter. The more you learn on your own time, the quicker your training will proceed, which means less cost to you. You can also use Thrust Flight's video in the description below to find some tips for communicating with ATC. Number three, watch free YouTube videos. There is a lot of great free learning material on YouTube, on our channel, and many others. Learning from free videos is a great way to get ahead of the game and will keep your ground training as close to minimums as possible. Number four, train in an affordable aircraft. The bulk of your cost is of course going to be the cost of flying the airplane. Reduce that number by finding a low per hour rate aircraft. Some schools even offer a discount if you put some money down up front, further reducing your hourly cost. At Thrust Flight, we help our students save here by flying the Sport Cruiser, a light sport aircraft with affordable operating costs. Aside from reducing costs, there are also methods you can use to acquire funds to help you in your flight training. Let's go over 4 different tips you could try for getting help to pay for your flight training. Number one, acquire scholarships. Whether you are attending a university in conjunction with flight training or you're going directly to a flight school, each option provides you with scholarships. If you're going the university route, talk with your admissions counselor or the financial services office to get more information on some scholarships you can apply for. If you're going the flight school route, you can check out aopa.org or faa.gov to browse their list of scholarship opportunities. Check the links in the description below for a few of our favorite scholarships. And spoiler alert, Thrust Flight's More Pilots scholarship is at the top of that list. Number two, finance your flight training through a loan. If you consider this option, it's better to try and complete your training as quickly as you can by training full-time. If your goal is to get to the airlines, it will take about 2 years from the time you start training. However, if your plan is to become a recreational pilot, then it's better to save up rather than to take out a loan. But some institutions do offer financing for recreational training as well. Check the links in the description below for some resources for financing your flight training. Number three, use military assistance. If you were in the military previously or are currently in the military, you can use the Tuition Assistance Program to pay for your flight training, or You can also use the GI Bill to pay for advanced flight training. The GI Bill can be used through a private or public university or a vocational training program. If you have any more questions about saving costs and acquiring funds for flight training, post them down below. As always, feel free to reach out to us at Thrust Flight if you're ready to take that leap to become a pilot. From Thrust Flight, I'm Nathan. Take care.